Hi, I'm Sterling Lynch. I'm directing Educating Rita for the Ottawa Little Theatre, and it opens September 20th. And I'm thinking about class, or rather, I should say I am still thinking about class because the last little video I did was about class, so you might want to go back and check that out. So why am I still thinking about class? Well, I think from our perspective, Canadian perspective, the perspective of Ottawa audiences, and possibly even some more contemporary English audiences, I think those audiences intuitively think that that Rita's goal is to be admired and is even the right goal to have, and that is educating herself so that she can move from one class, the working class, to another class, the literary, educated middle class. She wants to be upwardly mobile, as it were, and I think as a general rule, most Canadians and most people in Ottawa think that's a good thing. Feel free to correct me in the comments if you think otherwise. But why is that important? Well, I think it's because that hasn't always been the case, or not all people have thought that. So, for example, E.M. Forster in this beautiful book, Howard's End, which I read because it plays an important role in the play Educating Rita. The Forster, or at least the author's voice in this book, is unequivocal. The goal that Rita has in mind is reflected in a character in this book. And that character, Leonard, wants to move from his class, or aspires to be beyond. I don't think he ever really thinks he can make it to the next level, but he wants to aspire to the next class in exactly the same way that Rita does, which is through literature and great works, and sort of bettering himself through literature. And it's explicit. Forster and the main protagonists, the two women in this book, are critical of Leonard for precisely that. And you could even argue that it's Leonard's aspirations that allow him to dally in the upper classes just long enough that he pays the ultimate price with his death. So for someone like Forster, the desire for E.M. Forster, there's a joke in the play, and I'm actually one of the people who always say Foster, just like Rita, but E.M. Forster, or Foster? Forster. Where was it? Totally lost my train of thought. Yes, for the author in this book, upward mobility is a symptom of a much greater malady that's taking over England in the turn of the 20th century, and that's ultimately capitalism and the lack of attachment that capitalism depends on. To want to leave your class is of a spirit of of someone who wants to uproot and leave their land, or shift homes, or go where the money goes, or go overseas to colonize. And Forster is explicitly critical of that group of people, that class of English, this new mercantile, capitalist, moneyed class, who he grudgingly recognizes as having played an important role in making England great, but possibly at the sacrifice of its very character, at least the character that Forster thinks is essential and at the heart of what he most values in English culture. So, what do you think? And there is a sense at the end of the play that Rita hasn't really achieved anything. She gets to the point where she can pass in English literary culture, or at least she thinks she can pass, and she recognizes that it's the same shit, different pile. What lesson is she drawing from that? Is it this lesson, that maybe she should never have aspired at all? Or is it a lesson that it's good enough to be able to pass between those two cultures? So what do you think? Is the desire for upward mobility, as reflected by Rita, as criticized by Forster, something that we intuitively admire and like? Or are there any naysayers out there who think maybe, no, there is something to be said about sticking with your own class, for lack of a better phrase? Love to hear what you have to say. It'll help me think through the implications of this book and make better sense of the play. Talk soon. Bye.